Viktor Frankl survived 4 Nazi concentration camps. He lost his wife, he nearly lost everybody he had, and he had every reason to surrender. And he did not. What he learned inside of those camps is perhaps the most important principle in this entire series. My name is Colin Charles. This is Enoch Marketing, and this is Law 8. So what we're talking about today, Robert Greene opens Law 8 with a concept as put as the violation as the passive attitude. The passive attitude is the mental posture of waiting for circumstances to improve before you act, looking outward for the source of every problem, and treating your own inaction as a reasonable response to difficult conditions. His historical anchor in this episode is Anton Chekhov. Chekhov grew up in poverty. His father was a violent alcoholic. His family lost everything when he was a teenager. Every circumstance in his early life was a legitimate reason to fail. Instead, Chekhov developed an extraordinary capacity to observe human nature without bitterness. He saw people clearly. He found meaning in difficult conditions, and that attitude became the source of his genius and drove him to become one of the most celebrated literary authors in history. Greene's argument was precise, that two people can face the same circumstance, and one will see it as an obstacle and the other one will see it as information. The circumstance is identical. The attitude is not. And the attitude determines everything that follows. Greene writes, "The most difficult thing is the decision to act. The rest is merely tenacity. The fears are paper tigers, and you can do anything that you decide to do." Which leads me perfectly into the story of Viktor Frankl. I really admire the work of Viktor Frankl, and he's written a book called A Man's Search for Meaning. And without reservation, I recommend that everybody read this book, because Viktor Frankl goes a little bit further than Greene does on this particular law. The most powerful argument for Law 8 was not made by anybody who was living a relatively comfortable life. It was made by Viktor Frankl when he was in the Nazi concentration camps. He was an Austrian psychiatrist, and he was arrested in 1942. He spent 3 years in those camps, one of which was being Auschwitz. He lost his life, he lost his father, he lost his mother, and he lost his brother. Putting this into perspective for every 28 people who went into any of these camps, 1 survived. And in this case, it was him. And he wrote about what he observed inside those camps in that book, A Man's Search for Meaning. And his central observation is this. He writes, "Everything can be taken from a man but one thing, the last of the human freedoms, to choose one's attitude in any given set of circumstances, to choose one's own way." And what he's suggesting is that everything can be taken from a person except one thing. And that one thing is not his health, it's not his family, it's not his freedom, it's not his career, and it's not his dignity. You can take all of those. But the choice of attitude towards what is happening cannot be taken. And it belongs to the person. And it belongs to them completely, with no external force that has ever been invented or ever will be invented can remove your ability to choose. Frankl did not observe this from a distance. He observed it from inside the most brutal laboratory in human history. And what he found was the people who survived were not always the strongest or the healthiest. They were the ones who never surrendered that fundamental freedom. Those who chose the attitude, even though their circumstances had been some of the worst in human existence. And that choice gave them a purpose. And if that principle holds up inside a concentration camp, it holds everywhere. It holds inside of a failing business. It holds inside of a struggling gym. It holds inside every dark moment that any person reading the book or hearing this or ever will ever experience. Now with it, I did say that there is no thing that can take away that will. But there is one that can convince you to surrender it. Now let's talk about the algorithm. This is something that is new and is a byproduct of social media. If you've been watching headlines, recently the United Kingdom actually just passed huge bans on social media for anybody under the age of 16 because of what it does. And this is so insidious. And you're probably listening to this on some form of social media, and we need it. It is integral to not only my business and Enoch marketing, but also into the way we live life today. Therefore, it has to be discussed. Now we're going to connect this. The average American spends roughly 7 hours looking at a screen every single day. And roughly 3 of those hours are going to be spent on some form of social media. 7 hours. That's a full working day, staring at a screen. Naturally, a lot of us work on computers. But that additional 3 hours of social media is where we're going to focus. The algorithms that are running those things that you are looking at 4 hours every day are designed to confirm what you already believe. Because the people who designed them understood Rule 7, confirm people's beliefs. And here's how it works. You react to something, and the algorithm records your reaction. It finds you more content that produces the same reaction. And over time, your feed becomes a mirror of the existing beliefs you already had and your pre-existing emotional state. But when you combine that with human nature, something very dangerous happens. Because we are wired to weight negative information as more important than positive information. Kahneman and Tversky documented this in this research on loss aversion. Now, if you want to go into that, we covered that back in phase 1. It's episode 5. Negative events register more powerfully than positive ones do of equal magnitude. I.e., it hurts more to lose $20 than it does to gain $20. Or it hurts more to lose $20 than it does feel good to gain $20. So the algorithm learns quickly that negative content produces stronger reactions. So, because it's already meant to feed you more of what you're already seeing, it feeds you more of that negativity. And your reactions get stronger. And then it feeds you even more. It's a death spiral. And before long, you're inside of this tunnel of darkness that was built one scroll, one comment, one like, one share at a time. And the machine is designed to keep you engaged, not to make you well. I personally got off of Instagram. I only use it for business, as you probably see this is coming from Enoch Marketing. And I don't use it for my own personal consumption. Because I recognized what it was doing to me mentally. It was not feeding me information, it was engineering my attitude. And it was just doing it one piece of bad information at a time. I realized somewhere in there that I kept waking up, and before I went to the gym, I was already mad. And I go to the gym at 3 a.m. So I would get up, check it, and I would see something that pissed me off, and I'd be pissed off for the rest of the day. So I just cut it. But that is the passive attitude being manufactured and manipulated at scale. Now, if you're looking at it for multiple hours a day, and you're seeing something confronting your own fears, your own sadness, the darkness of this world over and over again, that becomes to be everything that you see. And you have to make a choice, because the machine is designed perfectly to keep you in that loop of destruction. So, on a much better note, you can make the choice to break the cycle. On an even more positive note, I'm going to give you a story about how this showed up in my life. So I was at Regenexx. Regenexx is my home CrossFit gym, by the way. It's in Carson, California. It's next to an IKEA. It's on Leapwood. Easily one of the best things that have happened in my adult life is joining Regenexx. I don't go nearly as much as I want to, but when I do get to go, it's always a good time. So I was at my home gym this morning, a couple hours ago. We were doing snatches. One of the coaches there, her name is Clara. Clara was stepping in for AJ, who's usually the the Olympic lifting coach. I love Clara. I love her. I love the gym, and I think, truthfully, it's hard to even describe the relationship to Clara, because it's not like a romantic love type of a thing. I just admire her, and I admire everything about her. Sometimes you just have that really strong affinity for somebody, and that's not intending to do anything untoward. She could do nothing. I'm just happy she exists. And we were really cool. There was about a year in there where I had to leave because I was trying to start a business with Dimensional Search, and I was going through my master's at the same time, and I just didn't have the bandwidth to go. And a lot of the times that I would be going to the gym, I'd have to be doing other things. So I hadn't seen her in a while. And she came in today, and she was coaching, and I'm always excited to see Clara. I will always be excited to see Clara. Again, she's just one of those people. And she came up to me and she's, "Hey, how are you doing? Like, how are you really doing?" And I was like, "Yo, the business is going great." And at this point in my life, it's hard to talk about how I'm doing without talking about business. But the business is going great. We have all this capability now. We can do all these things. I'm on this amazing team with these people who are just rock stars. We can do just as much as anybody at anything. So we're super capable, and we could bring prices down because we leverage technology, and everything's amazing. Everything's amazing. We've learned so much. And she should have been coaching at the time. But she was like, "That's great, blah, blah, blah." We end up splitting. We finished the class. After class, she stops me. And she said something to the effect of, "I always knew you'd be successful. Because you have this thing about you that's like, whatever you set out to do, you're going to make it happen. And I'm so happy to see you," and all of this stuff. And it was so encouraging that she never doubted me for a moment. And I smiled and I thanked her. And I couldn't tell her about the depths of despair that happened in that year. I couldn't tell her about the moments of hopelessness and the times where all the evidence pointed towards our imminent failure. The times when I was looking at the economy and it looked like everything was eclipsing, when it looked like everything was collapsing, when it looked like nothing was working, when it looked like I was in a hole and I didn't see my way out, or I was firing these people that I had really come to enjoy working with, or the times where I thought, I'm surely out of money and there's no way we can pay these folks the next month. We did. Or that we would just be so competitive, like raging against AI, which is always so much stronger. And as I look back at all of those things that we encountered, there were so many moments where I really thought that there's no way we're going to make this thing happen. That was when we were in the depths of despair. When the bank's calling you for money and you're worried about how you're going to pay these people, and you have to get rid of some people because they're ruining the business objectively, and you don't know how you're going to compete because it looks like the entire economy's on like a turntable. And somehow we did. And I'll tell you how we did. We just made a decision. I made a decision to carry on. I had repetitively the decision where it's like, we should just throw in the towel now because there's no way we're going to make this work. And we did it. And we carried on. And now, I'm going to be very honest with you, right? So when I was in the depths of despair, I wallowed in the depths of despair. I felt the full weight of the darkness. I let the emotion come over me. I didn't pretend like it wasn't there, but I did carry on. And yes, there were days when you're like, I don't know how this is going to work. And there were days where it was easier to just stay in bed because you didn't want to face the challenges that were coming. But I carried on. And I chose to carry on. And in carrying on, we overcame. And eventually we got from the place where it was hopeless to a place now where it's not only just positivity, right? We're no longer in a place where, oh, we might make it happen. We've made it happen for people. We know the tools. We have all of the AI, everything. We know how to use all of the Google and the Meta to make this thing happen. We could take any product, anything, and turn it around and make millions of dollars off of it. Anything. And it all started with a decision. And it was the decision of what attitude I, as the leader, was going to take. And that made all the difference. And she believed it the whole time. Even when I didn't, she did. And I'm happy I didn't quit, because I would have felt that I let her down. So shout out to Clara. Hi, Clara, I love you. You're amazing. She's an amazing woman. And she gave me a gift today that she will never understood that she did. So, you have a choice. Every day you have a choice as to what you are going to do with your circumstance and your attitude. So to recap, Greene calls the enemy of this law the passive attitude. The person who waits for their circumstances to improve before they act, and who looks for outward problems, or looks outward for the source of every problem. One could also liken this to locus of control, like a person who is passive because they think everything is external locus of control as opposed to internal locus of control. Chekhov had every single reason to fail, and he chose a different attitude towards his circumstances, and that attitude became the source of his genius. Viktor Frankl, again, survived 4 concentration camps, and he lost everyone. And he observed the one thing that could never be taken, the last of human freedoms. And that is the choice of the attitude towards whatever is happening to you. Now, you're going to be online for 4 hours, or you're going to be behind a screen for 7 hours a day, and likely 3 hours of that will be social media. And oftentimes the algorithm is designed to get you to surrender the last of your human freedoms, by showing you all of the negativity that could be happening. And that happens very slowly. One scroll, one like, one comment, one share at a time. You have to recognize it. Because once you recognize it, then you can make the choice. The purpose of the algorithm is not to get you to be healthy. It's to get you to continue scrolling. Make the choice. Now, with that, I'm going to add my own law of human nature. Because there will be times when you are suffering, and times when you feel alone, when there is no hope. And the easiest thing to do, and typically what the first thing people do, is to go look for other people to confirm at the minimum that you're not crazy. By and large, most of us aren't. So you might find someone who sees the suffering the way you see the suffering. And at least at that point, you won't be alone. Because misery does love company. And when you do that, you'll find people who understand. People who see and they'll confirm that suffering, as hard as it may feel. And you'll feel seen, and you'll feel alone, and you won't feel crazy. But that doesn't stop your suffering. You will feel crazy when you would choose to stay positive in the presence of evil and overwhelming darkness. And that is where a decision needs to be made, because it is always going to be easier to wallow as a group than it is to choose positivity in the face of evil. But there will be times when you are surrounded by evil, when you are in the midst of the darkest night, when you're drowning in hopelessness and you have no reason to carry on. And that is when you will find exactly how powerful you are. Because even when the darkness is completely swallowed by the light, you can still choose goodness. And that spark of goodness that you choose cannot be overcome by the evil. Then you are the source of hope. You are the source of hope. You are the unbeatable good. And that is the greatest good that human beings can ever achieve. Viktor Frankl proved it in concentration camps, and you can prove it in your own life. And I could not in good conscience say that if you are going through it and you are in that pit of hell where you are surrounded by the darkness, reach out. Reach out for someone, please. And if you're considering letting the darkness win, don't. Because you are greater than that. You are stronger than that. And listen, I get it. I get it. Carry on. And if you need encouragement, I can't guarantee you that I can be the one to encourage you, but there is help. There's absolutely. Dial 988. Dial something. Call someone. Because no lives need to be lost to the overwhelming darkness. And if we can come together and we make that choice to be good in the face of evil and to smile in the face of oppression and to rise up from the crushing weight of hopelessness, then there is nothing that we cannot do. We can and we will overcome. My name is Colin Charles. And if it means anything to you, this is Enoch Marketing. And we're going to get into another law that I forgot because it's not important right now, but law number 9 will be on tomorrow. Stay strong. And we will see you next time.